entertaining because she's talking about like all this censorship and stuff like that, and how it's like, oh, well, I'm just loud, I'm just opinionated and outspoken during that whole thing. And then like a day later, she fucking goes after Rami and starts like spreading all this misinformation about his role in Love Trousers and stuff like that. And then like, and then she gets mad that people. Yeah, and then she gets fucking uppity because Rami fucking he saw those tweets, like because like they were retweeted and he saw them, so he was like, no, you're spreading bullshit. This is my actual role in the game, and she got like defensive, and like her fans would be like, oh, this isn't a conversation that you're involved in. It's just like you're talking about spreading misinformation about him, and then you're telling him that he's not involved in the conversation. You're talking about him. Of course he's involved in the conversation. Of course he has the right to go, hey, this thing you're saying about me is fucking wrong, and you need to fix that. Like, he's not being a bad person by saying, hey, actually you're incorrect.
I just find that kind of behavior really dangerous, and I think it makes people feel really unsafe. And that's the thing that concerns me. It's just like that. That's the kind of stuff that makes people feel not safe. Is the kind of stuff, especially someone like Debbie who has a lot of prestige within the game jam scenes. That she's been making a lot of, not as many she's before, obviously because of what's happened, but she's running a lot of stuff, and like I'm sure that makes a lot of people just feel really uncomfortable knowing that this is a person who has a lot of power in those places. Like that's something that's really uneasy. You know, it's just not good having those people who make that kind of behavior, who aren't able to take responsibility for what they do, in positions of power. Like that's not healthy. Like that's not safe. You know,
exactly.
Just straight up.
Here's another thing about that whole Debbie everything. Like during the whole when she started shit with Rami, it was about the Love Browsers, and like that day or like maybe a day later, she like deactivated her account. Like her Twitter was just like gone, okay. And then the day after, she came back and started talking about how Lee Alexander is a transphobic bigot because Lee Alexander was talking about how Debbie Ever was being a shithead.
But if you're talking about the thing about attention...
Wait. Isn't Lee Alexander trans?
Right? We're seeing how that sort of spiral down into just kind of chaos.
What the fuck?
Right?
It's
like a ship. It's like a burning ship just going down, man. It's like,
it's
at that point, I stopped watching.
All she had to do was like look inward for like 5 fucking seconds and maybe realize that what she was doing, whether or not she felt like it, may have been okay. But instead it spirals into this thing where she starts spouting off racist nonsense. She starts like trying to spread misinformation. She starts trying to spread information using years-old information about someone who's not even running, about like the fuck no video games thing. It's like talking about like, you know, spreading all that information about, like, stuff that Kimmy said years ago, and just, like, she doesn't even run that blog anymore, so now you're getting someone involved who literally had nothing to do with anything that involves the kind of shit that you did in the last couple days. It's like you're getting a third party involved just because you think that they're associated without even bothering to think about if they are, so then this completely innocent person is now getting completely wrapped into your bullshit. Just because maybe they said, hey, you're kind of a shithead, and they happened to own a blog at the time.
Yeah,
and then it becomes a thing and then that turns into spreading misinformation about Rami, and then that turns into calling Anita Sarkeesian and Leigh Alexander transphobic bigots, and it's just like, you need to take a step back and maybe realize that maybe you're the person who's the problem here, not the people around you.
So I do want to note quickly that's like straight up abuse, right? Like going through someone's history there and then trying to make accusations about them. Like it was just this woman who used to run fuck no video games, you know, and she doesn't even run it anymore. Just like constantly just harassing this woman about it. Like that's not cool. That's not acceptable, you know. But,
and she was like using that to be like, oh well, you know, maybe like it wasn't even like she didn't even say this. It was like maybe I did a bad thing, but oh. Look at this other person who called me out and also did this bad thing. So therefore, I'm completely okay, right, guys?
Yeah. So
I mean, no, you can't pass the buck onto someone else when you fuck up like that. You need to take credit for what you did. And if someone else did fuck up like that, you know, maybe, you know, I'm not saying don't call them out, but maybe you shouldn't try and call somebody out when you're in the middle of sorting the shitstorm that you started. Literally a day before.
So, I mean, you know what? I'm very, very glad that people responded to that in the way they did, that people responded and made it clear that they were not okay with that thing.
I am incredibly happy with the reception to that whole thing, because I was like 100% not expecting a single thing to come out of that whole situation. I was really just going to be like, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and nobody's going to give a shit. So I was just like, you know what? No, I'm going to keep on talking about this until, people take notice.
Good job.
Like, this kind of thing is ridiculous, because this stuff happens. Like, this, Debbie Ever is not an isolated case. This kind of stuff happens all the time. The problem is that we don't talk about it. And when we actually talk about it, it seems to be when things get done. But nobody wants to talk about it. So it doesn't get done.
And it's not only this idea of talking about it, it's also this idea of like this is the thing. I never got to say this on Twitter, but I do want to say this right now, right? Is that if Debbie Ever having so much space in the game jam community, because this is the thing, we want to think of the practical effects of people like her being in power and having control of the spaces, right? The idea that maybe people that feel less to do game jam. So it's like, I want to say this is that if you feel uncomfortable when certain people who have a lot of really sort of views that make you feel uncomfortable and unsafe running things, then you can talk to people about it. You can email people about it. You can email people who are influential and tell them that you're concerned. People who run services like HIO, like Game Jolt, like
there's like so many advocates.
And there are people who, because there are good people who will listen to you, and this is the thing too. It's like there's something you can do about it. This is the thing, right? It's like you have the ability to make a step to make the places that you operate in a little safer for people, a little easier for people. You know what I mean? Like that's something. So and
I think a lot of that is because, like, most people, and I can understand why, because I was definitely the same way, but most people kind of feel like they don't have a voice. Like, they feel like if they say something and they speak out, nobody's gonna listen. And a lot of that is just like, I guess a lot of smashing that idea is just kind of doing it anyways. Like, whether or not people are listening, it's just one of those things where it's just like, just say something, Because, like, even if you think nobody's going to talk about it, if you at least say something, someone might think about it, and then maybe later on along the lines, people will start talking about it.
Here's an important pattern, which is that often we find that when we say something that we feel alone about, other people actually feel the same way.
Exactly.
This is a little phenomenon. So it's the idea that you're not always, like, if you feel unsafe and comfortable because there are people who have very, very damaging and dangerous views, like, in spaces, like there are probably people who feel the same way. And you're not alone, right? This is the sort of point, right? Is that you're not alone. It's hard for me to think of a scenario where you would be, where anyone would, to be honest. You know what I mean? So, like,
there have been, like, a lot of situations in which it really feels like that we're alone, but, like, when it comes like right down to it, the community is usually, like, 100% there for you. And if, like, there's always going to be, like, those dissenters and those devil's advocates and all that shit like that, but that's not really a thing that's exclusive to games. That's a thing
those people, man, you don't need to bother with them.
Those are people that you're going to find in every field. You're going to find them in games. You're going to find them in art in general. You're going to find them in tech. You're going to find them in, like, academics. You're going to find them everywhere. It's just how it is.
Can I close this story on a thought?
Totally.
Yeah, please.
I brought up that story from when I was a teenager because, one, it was something when I said when I was a teenager, because, that's fucked up things that teens do, and eventually they need to grow up and stop fucking doing that shit. I just want to say,
I'm really disappointed in 16-year-old Austin, by the way. Very disappointed in 16-year-old Austin.
I had a lot to learn.
Don't worry, I'm right there with you. I wasn't very good myself when I was 16, and now I'm 23, and now I'm okay, I guess.
I can talk about white male guilt all day. And the thing about it, and I mean, I'm not.
I can talk about white male guilt all day as a black person. Like, let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Well.
But, like, but, like, and I would say that it's actually been, like, mostly a positive force, actually, but, but long story short, we had group therapy, and if I remember correctly, I did it 2 days a week. It happened on Tuesday, and I apologized for it on Thursday, and that was the end of it, Because I literally thought about it for 5 seconds on Wednesday and went, yeah, that was pretty fucked up.
It's really amazing how you can literally just take, like, 5 seconds to think about something wrong that you just did and go, oh, I was wrong, so let me go ahead and apologize. It's that simple, and it's why this whole Debbie Ever thing gets me. And why it always gets me every single time, because this isn't the first time she's done shit like this. Like she was giving me, like, a huge amount of shit when the Indie Custom Cube thing came out, because I was one of those proponents who was like, oh, this is kind of racist, or this is kind of offensive. Like, you have, like, the Anna card that's always talking about, like, fucking all the dumb shit they talk about, and then you have the Soldier Boy card, which is coincidentally a black card, despite the fact that he's the only black person covered in the custom cube, and certainly not, no black developers were on it at all, because, as you know, we don't fucking exist. But, like, I was sitting there, I was, very vocally angry about it. And she was one of those people who decided to hop up in that train when I was talking to Shiggy Hara about it, when she had released that little shitty apology that was like, oh, well, it's actually not racist because it's actually part of the mechanics. Where everyone was going, hey, I know it's part of the mechanics, but it's your game, it's your mechanics. You could go, hey, maybe this shouldn't be part of the mechanics. Maybe you can make this work without being racist. But, and, of course, all that shit. And it was like, Debbie was like, Shigihara can't possibly be racist because she's an Asian woman, so how could she possibly be racist? I mean, she's not white, so therefore she can't, if what she's saying about race, or if she's saying, like, this thing isn't racist, then that absolutely has to be true, which is a point of view that in itself is inherently problematic, because you're taking one person of color and you're making them speak for all people of color, which is especially a bad thing when you're talking about people of color in general, not even just like a specific race, because then it's like, oh, well, this Asian woman is being told that what she is like, it's like, oh, it's not racist because she's an Asian woman, so therefore if you are an Asian woman, then you're not racist. So you can say whatever the hell you want, like you drop N-bombs like whenever you want, and it's totally not racist because you're not white. And it's just like, no, it's not. That's not how it works. You don't get it, so don't try to explain to me like you get it. And of course, the entire argument was her trying to explain to me that I didn't get it, despite the fact that I'm a black dude talking about race and the thing that is offensive to black people. And it's like, well, it was coming.
So that was actually the first thing that Debbie ever is that she actually did defend Indie Custom Cube and a lot of his problems, which was like the first sign to me that like something was afoot, something was wrong. It's like, wait, no.
She's also very vocal about Anita Sarkeesian and being like, oh, Anita Sarkeesian's total, like, it's like a total liar and a scammer. I'm just like, first of all, that is like a 2-year-old argument that doesn't even need to be had anymore. And second of all, really?
Yeah, it's like an MRA thing, isn't it? It's like something men's right activists on like Reddit, like they're scheme about any Sarkeesian.
Let me tell you, when that whole misunderstanding about Anita using that one artist's art without permission happened, there was so much truthing going on. Like, oh, Anita stole art, so therefore tropes versus women is a fucking scam, and you should totally like.
And the best part about it,
lawyers and shit like that. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is like self-parody, basically.
The woman's art that she used later tweeted, hey, she talked to me, we got it worked out.
Yeah, they worked it out before. They worked it out in a few days.
They didn't talk about it immediately, but I mean, they did talk about it, and like, the whole thing actually made a ton of sense. Like, it was just like, oh, I was looking for art for characters to use on this thing. Your art was really good. It popped up in Google search. I thought it was something that was like maybe official, like art that people can use for whatever they want, so I grabbed it. Which is, to be frank, when it comes to people who are really good at art and their results showing up in Google, that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it is, but I feel like the point there is that it did
pop up in places like that.
I think the point is that it did get resolved, and whatever the conclusion of that is doesn't suddenly move into tropes versus women as a whole, suddenly becoming uncredible for some reason.
Exactly.
The whole thing is just bad now.
I mean, like,
garbage.
There's still, I mean, like, that would kind of be like the entirety of psychology. Actually, this is a better example. That would actually, that would be like the entirety of psychology looking at Freud and saying, well, he fucked up like half of everything, so we should like never reference his work again. Like,
Yeah.
No.
well, you know what? Freud is weird because Freud has a lot of strange things. He does a lot of weird stuff.
Well, yeah, and they kept what worked and threw out what didn't. You know, like, I mean, that's how this shit works, you know?